Recruitment is connecting two people, whether you're an employer and a candidate, a recruitment agency with your client and your candidate. It's all about that.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Milverton, CEO of Links Educate. This is Talent is Everywhere. We're here to talk about how to keep talent and how to develop talent in order to build a strong business. We'll interview leaders to hear their best experiences of how they invested in people. So today we are speaking in English with two French guests who run a recruitment firm called Approach People in Dublin, Laurent Girard-Claudon and Émilie Narcy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
So this is a nice episode where we're going to get to talk a lot about like international mobility and, international careers, which is something, we all have in common. And we were speaking before, Laurent, your background, you can tell us in a minute how you decided to start this firm, but that, you were in France and you moved to Dublin, and Émilie, also you've been on this journey. So Laurent, why don't you start by just telling us your story, like how you from not an HR and recruitment background, how it ended up that you founded this firm.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for welcoming us today. It's a pleasure to chat. We've spoken already, and I think, we're going to have a good time together. So just like a few years ago, last millennium, it was 1999, and the company I was working for offered me to move to Dublin. I was working in cash management in Paris. It was all good in Paris. I was very happy, and no way I would leave the country. So many things to do, the weather, and I loved France, and I never really thought about moving abroad. So the opportunity arose, and I said, why not? You know what? I just go spend a few months and become bilingual in English, which I'm still waiting for 25 years later, and do it. We'll see. And that was, I don't know, the best or the worst decision of my life, but it completely changed my life because I didn't expect that, but I love the country so much, the people, the business side of Ireland as well, that I've stayed over for all these years, and I have absolutely no plan to go back.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And I can, definitely relate from all my, international travels. But what about you, Émilie? How did you end up from France into Dublin as well?
When I was very young, I had recruitment experience in France, but I was wondering, I was a bit lost, I think, in my life. I didn't know really what was next. I felt that I had done so much, and I was only 25. And everything happened. I was quite sad. And one of my friends said, well, you do speak English, so move abroad. You're not happy, do something. So I put my CV online and approached people. This guy called me to become an international recruitment consultant. So I started in 2008 with Laurent in Dublin. He gave me the opportunity to open then at the office in Barcelona as he was growing the structure internationally. Then I left Approach People, actually, a couple of years later, and I joined an international firm in Spain that gave me the possibility to move to the US. So I lived in America for about a year, and then they sent me to Asia, and I lived in Asia for 2 years and a half across Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, China. I came back to Spain, and I thought I missed Dublin so bad. That was the place where I was meant to be. So I came back and I joined Laurent again now to continue growing Approach People.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I love these like international career stories. And so maybe we'll during the time we talk, we can sort of take two perspectives, like one from the company perspective, like how you see like companies evolving and what they're looking for. And then also just I think personally, what it means to have these international missions and international relocations. Even though I'm half French, I grew up in America. I'm American, maybe in my mindset, and so just with the richness, I can totally relate of where you kind of in one place and you live your life and you feel at home in a new place that maybe isn't fully your one. So Laurent, maybe you can share with us what are companies looking for? You're working mostly with French companies who are placing people internationally, or how are you seeing this impact of English and internationality and what companies need and why they look for you?
Yeah, it's funny because when we arrived here, there was a huge need for French speakers in Ireland. That was how it started. We saw all these big American companies coming to Ireland to set up their headquarters for Europe. and they were looking for staff, and there was not enough people in Ireland to fulfill the position. So that's where we said, look, there's maybe an opportunity for us. I never worked in recruitment before, but I saw a need that we will apply our knowledge of American companies and Ireland and the business to the candidates would be coming from France with their own way of speaking, of presenting their CVs, and of like their own, like some words, some companies, some are very famous in this country, but not at all in another. So this is where we were the link between the two countries. And it was the DNA of Approach People Recruitment, because that's what we did over the years between different countries. Because we opened first in Dublin, and then we opened a company in France, and then one in Switzerland, and then we developed like that. We are now in Dubai, in Spain, in Germany, and always focusing on these needs for companies to find people from everywhere in Europe with languages, with experience. Sometimes some people they couldn't find in their own country. So we have absolutely no problem to locate anybody in Europe for any companies for any department, wherever they are. It could be in France, it could be in Germany, it could be anywhere. And this is, we realized the need, and it's a growing need of people with skills and languages and ready to relocate. And this is where we decided to focus on.
And what is why do you find that companies particularly looking for people to relocate? Because on the one hand, you could think, I guess one could be the language need. I suppose if you're working in France, you need people in Dublin that speak French. But is there something like an openness? Because you would maybe think it's expensive, and that wouldn't you try to find the people locally? Are they specifically looking we want international people, or it's literally a skills shortage and you have to find them from somewhere else?
Oh, it's absolutely both of them. Sometimes it's just a shortage of people. When we work in Switzerland, and the market is kind of there's no unemployment there, so they're looking for maybe staff with experience from abroad, and the languages again, plus the fact maybe some people with a different view, some people with different background that will complement the team they have. And at the same time, yes, companies will look for people because of where they come from. We see here, the French, they have a set of mind that is very, very looked for in Ireland. We are liked for what we can do at work. So sometimes it's just the question of bringing new skills, new languages, new way of working to another company.
They don't always expatriate either. They relocate. So when we talk about expatriation, there is the real expat image where you go and with your family, and there is a house and there is a car and there is all of that. But there is also the relocation of people that want to experience a new adventure with a local contract, with immersing themselves in really the local culture. The candidates are looking for that too, as well. So it's expatriation, but it's relocation as well. And then there is international recruitment, where companies actually want to go abroad for the local market. So they don't want to relocate a French person to discover the Spanish market. They want Spanish people that will understand the French culture, that will be able to make the link and help them to grow their business abroad. And that is not only with languages, that's with culture fit, that's with the sense of what you get when you work in a country, that only if you travel, if you live abroad, you can understand truly from the inside.
Mm-hmm. And how do you find that a company can well prepare for one of these cases? If you maybe you can think of an example, a client and they come to you with a case. It's one thing to say listen, we want to expand in this market and we want people, or as you're giving the example of an Irish company that wants the French mindset. Because I feel it's one of the thing, and I don't know, I'm not in your business, where you could have an imagination of how it is, and then in the reality is not really how it is. So how do you work with a company so that they define correctly what they're looking for?
Well, in recruitment, the first thing is to ask questions and to understand the why. What are you trying to achieve? What are you looking for in terms of skills, in terms of cultural fit? what are you trying to? And for many, many, many decades, we always talk about stereotypes, and they still have a hard way to sneak into recruitment processes. The French, we do have a reputation, the good one and the stereotypes that people carry over the years that are true or not true, actually. So they have those characteristics of kind of qualities or effect that they want to have on their business, and that's how we guide them. They have preconceived image of what it is to work with a German person, what it is to work with a French person, and we need to explain if it's true or if it's not true, and explain vice versa to the candidates. Why we're expert now is because we can explain to a German candidate what it is to work with a Spanish company or a French company, and is it going to suit them? Is it really wanting it is one thing. Being able to do it is another one. So we help them because we lived through that ourselves. Our consultant, they're all native. They all worked in different countries. We did it as well. What it is. So it's asking question and trying to discover if it's just a stereotype or if what is behind this need.
Mm-hmm. And how else, what are some of the success stories, Laurent, that you can fit? What's your ideal situation of, this is the kind of company and this is the way that they've framed the problem of where the internationality makes sense. You know what I mean? What's to avoid these stereotypes, an example of a company doing something and you think okay, this is the good way to think about filling positions with international recruitment, as opposed to falling in a trap of saying, okay, I can just solve this with a magic wand because I have this imagination of what it would be like,
It's funny because I remember this person I spoke with. She was American. And we organized a meeting, and I thought I would be welcome, kind of. But no, it was just meeting her in front of the reception desk and say, "Are we going?" So I said, "No, that's it. I don't have time for you. I only have 5 minutes." Okay, right. So that's a bit short, but okay. Say, but first, just to let you know, I don't really like French people, and I hate recruitment agencies. Okay, I was a bit young, I was not very experienced, but I love this situation because I say, okay, that's now my time to shine and to show this lady that us French people are not that bad and agencies are not that useless. We are here for a reason. And it finally lasted 2 hours and I visited all the offices. I cannot reveal the name of the company, but that's a huge one. And we worked with them since. And it's mad because they really developed, and the feeling they have for agencies and French people, I'm sure, changed there because now we work together. But it just the idea of what we brought was, why didn't she like us? She said, yeah, because you always think you will stay forever and you don't. And agencies, you always say you have the base candidates, you are specialists of this and that. And no, you're not. And say, look, I can tell you that we speak French to the French. So we will know exactly what they're looking for, and I can commit that they will stay for a long period of time. And I can promise you as well, we're specialized in the French market. So I will know exactly what you're looking for, in terms of, degrees and experience. And I'm not going to tell you lies. And that's what worked. The building trust with the customers and the candidates to really look at them in the eye and say, look, if I tell you some things because I'm sure I can do it, not trying to sell them false promises. And that's what worked. And that's what created kind of a solid relationship. And that's why we call as well Approach People Recruitment, because we really try to go and create a link with our partners. And basically, especially in the world we live in, what we realize what is really important is the human touch, the human community, the fact we can appreciate each other, and then it becomes a pleasure to work. If it's just in front of your computer dealing with figures, numbers, and virtual reality, and no, that's not the same. I don't think that's how we really enjoy ourselves. But if we meet people, if we interact, if we help each other, this is where happiness stands, and this is why we're happy to work since the last 25 years.
Right? Yeah, it's more fun than cash management. And do you have to do more work, in terms of integrating new candidates? So if you're thinking these international, either as expat or relocation or however it's going to be, Is it harder to get the company ready to receive the person, or harder to get the candidate ready to go, or it's just you have to do work with both of them to ensure success?
Well, it's with both of them. Really, you have to prepare the personal context of the candidate and anticipate what they will go through, what happens, the blues maybe that happens after 3 months that you haven't seen your family, where it is, how to avoid falling into traps. And the same with the company. The company receiving, they usually, especially at the beginning, they usually take a lot of care. When it's someone from a different nationality or a different project, they take a lot of care. It's very special for them. So they're really open to understand what they need, how can they approach them. And they call us back as well to say, what do you think I should do in that situation? I want to make sure this person feels okay. Is she going to be open to me, etc., etc. So it's really with both.
And what advice do you give to candidates? Because I even know, from my own experience, I've lived, of course, in lots of countries, and you think you're ready. You do the research on where you're going to live and the culture, and you read about it and the weather and the whole thing. And sometimes, at the beginning, you're quite excited. But it's hard. You're far, you're working in an environment that's different. And again, I say it's from my own experience of being somebody I love international things. I speak a lot of languages. I get so much energy from being on an adventure. But it can still be tiring, working a whole day in a language that isn't your own comfortable language, with just office norms, with just way of, my way of working is American. So I would never be so rude as that lady that you met. But I do also sort of get it, where you're listen, guy, I got 5 minutes, da, 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 da. And, and then you work in other countries and things are more, long and slow. So just going back, how do you prepare candidates for just the inevitable, just emotional stress of these things?
So, we always tell people to get ready. As you said, don't just go because you feel like it suddenly. No, you prepare yourself. Read what's online and save some money before going as well, because you don't want to be in some kind of financial precarity if you arrive in a new place. You want to enjoy the life a little bit, and maybe a bit of saving before you go, and then after, get prepared. But once you're there, the big advice is really meet the locals. That's really the big difference, because we see that we help companies as well, for example, to set up a business in France. And that's what we tell them as well. If you send people from America, from wherever you're based to the country, for them to feel happy and to stay and to really feel involved, try as much as possible to meet people, not the same nationality as you, because it's too easy, because you are kind of you never really in, you are one step in, one step out. But meet people who are locals, speak their language, get their habits, even try to find a stupid expression that they use on a daily basis, and really mix with them. And that's how things work. If you can as well get a car, or get a form of stability when you arrive in a new country, because else you never feel right where you belong, and you might always think okay, one day I will leave anyway, so why would I invest in this? So that's what we say to people: as soon as possible, mix and get involved in the local community with the locals, and this is how you'll find some happiness. And that's the real sense of discovery and adventure, is when you forget where you come from and really when you adapt to a new environment.
And then how do you recommend, sometimes obviously people are going to go for one spouse's job, often the husband, but it can also be the wife, of course. And what do you recommend in terms of how the spouse can integrate? Because that can also create, stress and tension.
In Ireland, for example, the easiest thing is you go to the pub. You go on your own. Say it could be weird in some countries to go to the pub by yourself and say, look, I don't know anybody. How would people see me? Here, it's just, you won't stay here, you don't stay alone for a long time. People come, could be anybody, could be any kind of person who will join and talk to you. And as soon as they know that you are, for example, French, they will be so happy, and they will try to speak to you and say, look, by the way, we're going there afterward if you want to join us. So that's the way, just push doors, or open doors, go, even in the street, you speak to people, to know where they're going, or sometimes they just open a map and people will come and try to help you and guide you. Or go to a park and read a book, and make sure, like, when you read your books, like to look around at other people. And that's the way, naturally, as soon as, even by yourself, even without taking a big effort, just show up to a new place, and you'll see, like, naturally people will come to you.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's good. Yeah, good advice for anyone. I'm interested, you call your company Approach People, and like all of your discussion is really like around like the human experience and you and your company, how you're, it's a lot about asking and talking and how to meet people. And I'm just like, my big question, you've been in recruitment for 25 years. Like, what about technology? Like, how are you seeing, I guess it's two questions. One is, how do you use technology in your company? And also, we've all seen, you apply for jobs. I post jobs for my company and I receive like 200 CVs. Like, it feels like technology is like, losing the human part. I'm just interested in how you're using it, how you've seen it change, and what's your opinion about everything happening now?
It's funny because you were talking about the day we started the company. It was last millennium, and by saying that, it's mad how much in 25 years the world changed in a technological point of view. Considering, like, before there was not even any website, like, it was really the beginning. Like, to connect to the internet, we had to disconnect our phone line to connect, and remember this noise of the modem connecting, and then to check our emails. Like, so it was a different way to work, and we have to meet people face to face. We had to go and meet the clients, like to take our little map to go and find the person, like, you go to the train station to get a ticket. So it was so different. And in terms of finding a job, you had to physically buy the newspapers and check what was there, like, for you to apply to, or to go to some employment bureau to apply, or meet people, meet advisors. Where 25 years later, that's a different world. We don't need to leave the comfort of our desk to travel the world at the speed of light. We can meet people from any background, we can meet candidates like this anywhere in the world. Same with clients. We don't need to have a local presence anymore, really. And so in terms of physical, like, meetings, they tend to disappear, but we create, like, thanks to this, the high quality videos that we are sharing right now, for example, that's perfect. It's like we can replace, and by working all these years as well, we develop some way to assess the motivation of people, even if we don't meet them, or the desire of clients. And the other aspect is that the database we are using is so efficient. There's no more faxes or CV or printing documents. Like, no, everything happens, like, just kind of we just have to click some documents. The computer can do research for us, and it's just amazing. The technology changed completely the world, but in the recruitment sector, it can transform everything as well, for candidates and for agencies and for clients as well. We communicate so fast, we organize things so quickly. It just became a pleasure to do business with technology.
And they don't contradict each other either, because the technology could mean we're not so human, where everything is virtual. We actually do talk to more people now with technology that we did when we were in person. My first experience when I arrived as Approach People, and again, it was a long time ago. So it was the beginning of Skype, not even Zoom or Teams or all of that. It was the beginning of Skype. So talking to people across the world was over the phone. And my biggest fear was, how will I connect with my candidate over the phone without seeing them, without feeling their energy in person? And then you have to rely on techniques and actually focus on the person. And how do you interview people to create this connection over the phone to do that? And now technology has actually helped, because we can see people, we can read people. There is so many nonverbal communication that happens when we see each other in video and on the phone. And learning how to do that, we became better, and we could talk to much more people. Thanks to technology, we can reach many more people across the globe than when we didn't have it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually, it's interesting because sometimes I get almost frustrated by the technology, because it's like so easy to apply for a job and just click, click, click. And you see, like, the tool like generates the CV and the letter for the person, and you think a robot is applying. But the way I dealt with this frustration, and I'll be interested in your feedback, is it forced me to be like really, really specific about what I was looking for. Like, not just the kind of person, but what were like that outcomes, like when I post a job or when I'm looking even for a consulting assignment for someone to join us, like be super specific. And in that way, even with like the flood of AI and all these like generated things, I've actually been able to find the person. So it's like the technology kind of forced me to do the work that probably you should do anyway.
Yeah, well, it's all about human connection. Recruitment is connecting two people, whether you're an employer and a candidate, a recruitment agency with your client and your candidate. It's all about that. So AI and technology is going to help automatize a few things, but I always think that we have a better future if we actually connect on the essence. And that's why there is a future for recruitment agency, because everything goes so fast that an employer doesn't have the time to screen all of that. But you do need to talk to people that unexpectedly will create something. And you can feel that. We talk about taking off your bias when you interview people, making it more safe and non-discriminatory. And it is true. And then you have this spark that happens in a CV that was not the perfect one. Only the human eye will feel that. And then you have to dig deep. So the human connection and the recruitment agency, the good ones, that's what we will focus on. People. The people that you meet, understand your client. We insist very often. We refuse to work with clients that say, oh, here is a job description, send me candidates. That is not how we can work. We want to feel the person that is going to work with you. It's important. So I want to understand how you are. What feels important? What is in your language? What is in your requirement? Why is that important to you? Because something will happen there that then we will be able to identify in candidates and make the match happen.
That's really nice. Yeah. And maybe just like looking forward, Laurent, I'd be interested in your take, like now if we think of just like stepping like way back from the candidate, sort of the macro economic and socio-political moment that we are in, that I think, maybe we could summarize, well, a lot of different words, but I think uncertainty is one that feels fairly, maybe it could be universally agreed. Like how are you just, you who are talking to companies, like how are you feeling it? Are they still wanting to hire? Are they feeling like, let's wait, like we don't know? Are they like, how is the market and what are companies telling you now?
That's something interesting because we talk to our staff and some of them say, oh, it's so hard at the moment, like like so much uncertainty, like we are in troubled times. And yeah, okay, what do you compare it to? Before it was so different, it was easier. Was it really easier? When was the last time you told me, oh, it's so easy to work here today, or like it's so? That's funny because people always think that they are in a worse situation than they were before. But when in the past, they were not saying, wow, I'm enjoying my job, so making so much money. It's like I wake up, I do nothing. And so, no. It's always been difficult. And of course, like when you listen to the news, it's scary. Like even this morning, they were saying, and even yesterday night. So like sometimes it's not even for weeks. Now it's like every few hours, you have some more bad news. How do you adapt to that? I think in a way, when you look at it, because now it's been a couple of years, we've been through so many crises. It started with 9/11. So we thought like, wow, that's going to be the end of business, and be followed by the subprime crisis. When say, okay, that's it, finished. And after that, we had COVID. Okay, we'll never come back from that. And you see, and now we look at what's happening. And over the last couple of years as well, like there'll be so many bad news, so many things that are scary. But in the end, like the people are resilient. Business is still going. So if we look at the bad news and say, look, absolutely no hope, no way. And now we look at the old bad news and say, oh no, finally we went through that and it was fine. And like we survived and we developed and we learned. And where that's a bit the same today to say, look, we need to adapt. And if we look at the good news, the good side of it, of course, some companies are letting people go, but there's so many others hiring, so many new jobs being created, so many shifts as well. Like we saw, for example, the automotive sector was struggling a little bit, and then suddenly the green sector, like were hiring plenty of engineers. So there was a shift from one sector to the other. Same with luxury products, for example, we saw that people selling in shops were kind of like looking for a job, and then hotels were hiring. So there was a possible shift from one set of the skills to the other in another department or company or sector. So there's always opportunities. And that's really what we are saying again yesterday. Are we opportunists? Yes. Is it a bad thing? No. So like opportunity could be good. Opportunism sounds a bit weird, but I think we need to adapt to what's coming. And there's always beautiful things to look at.
Amazing. Well, I love that. I love that summary. And yeah, I agree with you that, from moments of stress come opportunity. And I am, moved and really happy to hear your just like total optimism. And here, if we go back to stereotypes and everything, I totally get why, as a French person, you feel at home and happy in Ireland. Opposed to France, where we've been living with like la crise for 50 years, like une crise après l'autre. Which one is it? Yes, but it is amazing, to keep smiling and keep seeing, the opportunity. And from all of these like uncertainties come, new industries and new development.
Everybody can get there. I feel that with him every day, and you get inspired every day. You can train your brain to think this way and to actually look at it. The human is super resilient, and if you get the methodology to think, to look at what can happen, you can train that. I think French people are very resilient, and they are doing it more and more. We'll be surprised again.
I think so. The croissant will take over the world. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, and thank you. So nice to talk to you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent is Everywhere. Make sure to subscribe if you like what you heard, and give us a follow on LinkedIn to continue the conversation on all things career mobility and talent development. Is there a topic you'd love for us to cover in a future episode, or a guest you'd recommend? Drop us an email at hello@linkseducate.com. And if you're looking for support on your talent development strategy, head over to linkseducate.com to learn more about our career mobility solution. That's LYNXeducate.com.